So breaking news here, James does not like to hear the fans run on his laptop. So
yeah, first time.
we were just talking off recording here, and I had to hit record because it's hilarious that James just bought an M5 MacBook, an upgrade from his M1, because he heard the fans turn on his M1 one time.
Well, the fans for the first time. But yeah, I needed a new one anyway. But yeah, it's when you hear the fans go and you kind of panic. Especially, I think that's like weird now. The fact that you hear the fans go on a machine, like especially like the new M1 and the new like M whatever Mac chips. You know, you never hear them go on. So like when it came on, I was like, I was saying to Katie, like my girlfriend, I was like, what the fuck's that noise?
Oh man, that's hilarious. They will come on. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the first time I've actually heard them. Yeah. So like that's not too bad for like 4 years. I think I've had that after 3 years maybe.
Oh, the M1's so good. I mean, those M chips are so insanely good. It's just unreal. My personal machine is still the M1 that I got, back then. And I use it all the time, and I don't ever feel a need for something more. My work computer is again the M4, and like it's great. I honestly don't notice much of a difference though between the M1 and the M4. Like I know that there's a lot more compute and a lot more power on that M4.
Yeah.
But the M1 is still just holds its own. It's insane.
I know.
Compared to you go back to like an Intel machine, you start doing stuff, and it's just very apparent how different it is.
Yeah. I was just telling you off screen there about how I've still got like the touch bar MacBook, and it was like I thought it was a great machine, but the issues I had with that machine at the beginning was just crazy. Like the touch bar was just like glitching out, and like I would be designing in Figma, and like for whatever reason, everything would just like freeze up. And like I always remember this weird bug where like if it froze up like Figma and I tried to like drag the window, like basically just to try and move things around, like it would just create like, you remember like on Windows the solitaire thing, like would like the window would just do that, like create like so many different windows.
The touch bar Mac, like it was fine. I just never like got a lot of use out of it. There was like cool gestures that like felt good, like touching on like the brightness, the sun button, and then dragging back from it without lifting your finger, like or audio too, like press and hold on the speaker and then drag up and down from right wherever you were. Like that type of stuff was cool, but
it was just like a gimmick.
Yeah,
it was like a gimmicky thing because I never ever used anything like on the touch bar. It would always just be the actual keyboard buttons,
Yeah, same here. I mean, I'm sure that some people found some really good uses for it. I liked people hacked it, and they would run like games on it and things like that.
Yeah.
That was cool, but,
that's right.
I never felt the need to like reach up there and like press something that was on there. Maybe video and audio scrubbing, like that was kind of nice to be able to do that. But yeah, I'm okay to see that one go for sure.
Yeah.
I like the current state of MacBooks. It's just like we were just talking. I have this silver one now, and it was sent to me. Shopify I didn't get a choice. No one asked like, what color do you want? And they sent the silver one, and it's gorgeous. Like the two-tone black on silver is so nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's the best looking on the MacBook, but I just I don't see anything. I would love the notch to get out of the way, or turn it into a dynamic island. But there's so many times that there's an icon that I want in my menu bar.
And it hides. No, it drives me crazy. I know.
So if somebody like has a good suggestion, somebody's going to recommend Bartender, like managing icons better up there. But if there's, I don't know, tuple behind the bar, I have to like, open a breakcast and go to tuple or something like that. But what if I want to get to settings? Like then I have to plug it into a monitor. It's just weird, man. So the notch isn't ergonomically like incorporated the way that it is into the phone. But I think that'd be the only thing that I would change. Like I just, the form factors, the thickness, like the power, like it's all just great.
I've been getting the silver ones, like the silver MacBooks for a while. Like I said to you before, I've got this one, the M1 Max, I think. And then obviously my actual primary machine is like the Mac Mini. And just like, I just love that silver. Like I just love it. It just reminds me of the old like just I remember I had like the first like my first iMac, like the kind of all in one, like remember like the thicker iMac, it was like the thick screened iMac.
Oh yeah,
And that was actually, in fact, funny story about that.
the
It's
aluminum
like
ones, right?
like
The aluminum ones, yeah.
yeah. I actually gave that machine. Well, sorry, tell a lie. I got the thinner one. Remember, they came out like the thinner display
That's
and
what
stuff
they
like that.
currently have. I think it's
Yeah.
insane what they're packing in there. It's
Yes.
unbelievable.
So I had one from like 2015 that I was using, and I gave it to my nephew. Like it must have been in like 2018 maybe, or maybe a bit later, 2019. And literally yesterday or the day before, he messaged me, and my nephew messaged me and said like the machine just stopped working, but it was still working up until that point. Like, so it was like I bought that in like 2014, 2015, and like, you know,
Wow.
just about hit 2026, and it was still like powering on, you know.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that I'm giving him the Touch Bar one for his Christmas. So hopefully it's
for the
still
next 10 years,
still
hopefully.
is. Yeah. Hopefully, because I've hardly really used that because I ended up switching back to like a MacBook. I had another MacBook when I joined Tailwind, I think, and I ended up just using that because I had like a few issues with the Touch Bar one. But yeah, it's yeah. Did you get anything else in the Black Friday? Did you splurge?
Gosh, yeah. I spent a bunch of money on Black Friday. It's always like there's like 2 months before Black Friday that I start just like things that I want to buy. I start putting them in a note.
Right.
And
Okay.
instead of buying it then, just like waiting, knowing that it's probably going to be on sale.
Yeah.
Also, like if you buy within like 15 days of Black Friday, maybe a 30-day window, often people will refund you the differences if it ends up being like a better sale. I actually ran into that. Shout out to 8 Sleep. I finally committed and picked up an 8 Sleep
after
being
nice.
so pressured into it.
Yeah.
But they were running their sales for Black Friday like a week before Black Friday, the week of, maybe 2 weeks before. So I pulled the trigger. And then on Monday, Cyber Monday, the sale like almost doubles, like as far as the discounts off.
Oh, no way.
I'm like, so I just shot him an email and was like, hey, I just, bought this and now there's an even better price.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Can I get the difference, or I'm in return period? Can I return this and rebuy it today? Like, that's going to be a logistical problem. It's going to cost money. Like, it makes more sense. Like, are you interested in that? And they very nicely respond, and they're like, yeah, like shoot us a screenshot of what you got and what price you're seeing, and they just credited the difference. So,
oh wow, that's
good on them. Yeah, they refunded me for the difference between the Black Friday sale and the Cyber Monday sale.
That's amazing.
I just assume that merchants would default to, this is the sale we're going to do for this season,
of course.
At midnight on Monday, it goes back to normal prices type stuff. Not like I didn't realize I had to monitor Cyber Monday.
No, but that's just so much extra admin and headaches for like the support team to like handle. Because I bet you weren't the only person that done that. Like, you know.
Oh yeah, and I wonder like how many other things that I bought that was actually cheaper on Cyber Monday. But it's like my favorite thing to do on Thanksgiving like night is to just pull out the laptop and start shopping, because knowing that like everything's turned on now, and all the sales are turned on. But gosh, now it makes me feel like, should I wait till Cyber Monday to do that stuff?
I know.
Yeah, people still go like to stores too. I avoid it like the plague.
Oh, I'm the same. like not a chance.
Like,
I ain't leaving the house on like Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
A friend of mine's partner, she works at an outlet mall. We have, I don't know if you guys have those. We have outlet malls where they're like a mall of name brand stores that like last season's inventory goes to them, or I don't know, things that maybe aren't selling as well in the primary stores, and it's like Nike, Lululemon, like Patagonia, just have all these like amazing stores that just have like, maybe, that type of equipment, but they're marked down a ton. Mm-hmm. And she in particular works for Viore, and the main Viore store here is not running sales during the holidays, which is wild, but the outlet is. and they like quadrupled their sale estimates on what they were going to do. It was just madness. And they open up super early, stay super late. It's just like constant madness in and out of there. But the whole outlet mall, like they were actually told that the employees weren't allowed to park in the parking lots. They had to park somewhere else in the city, and then they would have shuttles to go and get them and bring them in.
That's crazy.
My buddy ended up dropping her off at work, and he's like, this is insane. Like, it's just the amount of traffic and waiting.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just the internet. I mean,
I know. Exactly. Like, just go online from the comfort of your own living room.
And then it's delivered. But then I feel bad. Exactly. I was talking to the delivery drivers, one of the delivery drivers that brought some stuff, and I'm like, hey man, like I feel every time I see them, I'm so sorry. Like I'm part of the problem. Like I know that you are probably insanely slammed right now, and I'm part of the problem. But like here's a water, here's a soda. Like I just asked, like, is there something I can get for you? So, but yeah, it's I couldn't imagine how busy it gets. I wonder if it's busier for delivery drivers like this week compared to like closer to Christmas.
Yeah, like Christmas.
I know that they start getting like extra drivers and extra people to work with them in the trucks, which is really awesome that the delivery services do that, to where normally you do your route alone every day, but then now in these seasons you get a supporting person to help manage the boxes and packages and do more deliveries and things like that. But I wonder if because of the like dedicated shopping weeks, around Thanksgiving, if this week now following it is like the busiest delivery time.
Yeah, I mean, probably in terms of like volumes of sales throughout, like, people buying, I think it'd be like, I don't know, I'd imagine that would be like so much more volume compared to like Christmas period, because people are like desperate for the sale, and like they want to like get all this kind of shopping done at this period. But I mean, like, I feel like I still see like a sale period happening for certain like merchants and stuff like that now, where it's like extended to like Christmas and then like January sales, and then like, it just feels as if there's like a 2-month period where there's just like sales everywhere.
It's crazy. I mean, like it's extending more and more that like they might as well just make it like the month. Like November is just like the sale month or something like that, because it just keeps like going out further and further and further. I think another thing that I've focused on too is checking prices, because I know that merchants, like specifically Amazon's notorious for this, dropping their or raising their prices going into the seasons so that their sales look bigger. So like I think camel.com is what I use to like put in a URL, and it'll tell me like what's the historical price of this thing, and you'll see things that like were at this price and they went up before Black Friday and then they were discounted back to that price.
Yeah, that's crazy. That how is that legal, man? That's like so that shouldn't be legal. You're just getting like rinsed for the same price. That's hilarious.
Obviously it's a huge season for Shopify. Like the numbers are
I was just about to ask it. Yeah.
My God. Yeah. Like the time up to it, we're building really cool stuff. I don't know if you saw like the whole interactive room of like AR style, like designed with a pinball machine and the globe.
I did see that.
Computer. Like it's insanely good. And then the rendering we put on the Vegas sphere. Like just every year Shopify takes over the Vegas sphere and puts on this animation. Cool. And it was amazing. Like from what I understand, when you click purchase, within 5 seconds, your data, the revenue of your purchase is sent to the sphere and added to the number, because there's just a tally that's ticking up on total sales of Black Friday that were powered by Shopify. And like, holy cow. Toby, our CEO, tweeted that on noon that day, the peak hit $5.1 million per minute of sales. Per minute.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when I logged off that day, it was still so high. Like when I logged off on like, because I was around on Friday, and it was still around 3. Like it was crazy how much revenue went through there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Bonkers. Yeah, it's wild.
I was looking at the technical stats too, if you want to nerd out about it, but like the breaking Black Friday records is sweet. The total Black Friday sales were 6.2 billion. Requests peaked at 489 million requests per minute, App servers handled a peak of 117 million requests per minute, up 40% from last year. Egress processed 237 billion requests. Peak database queries reached over 53 million per second, and writes reached over 2 million per second. And our API processed over 31 million requests per minute at peak. That's insane. Like, I love the database peak queries, 53 million per second.
Yeah.
Eesh. Like,
it's unfathomable. Like those sort of numbers.
Yeah. It's incredible. Like,
it's bonkers.
It's wild. But
people spending all that cash, all that Black Friday cash, man. That's crazy.
I contributed to 10% of that traffic. I had a friend reach out and ask, he's like, can you have your team audit my wife's spending, like Shopify merchant spending usage, please? And then at a certain limit, cut her off. Like, don't let her have
it's like blacklist her name.
Yeah. It's wild. It's good. I love Black Friday for sure.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we've not really got much like organized for this week, but I was just planning on I've been working with a company called AccessGrid for some context. I've worked with the guy Austin, who's like the founder. I've worked with him before. I think we mentioned this in a previous episode. And I messaged him like today, and I was just like, would it be cool to like share like some of the stuff that I've been working on? Could probably just like jump through some of the things that we've been doing, just kind of give people listening or watching a kind of run through of like how I set up my very untidy Figma files, and just kind of like go through some of the process. I think when we started Shape, this was like the sort of stuff that I was excited to kind of jump into. So I think it could be quite cool to do that. So
yeah, I'm excited to go through this. I saw you posted on Twitter a message about wanting to do this, and some people asked you some questions on that. I think a good time to ask this initial one is, what are things you have in place before you open Figma? Like, I assume, is it like, do you have a brand guide that you're working with? Do you have, obviously what you're going to be designing for a client, but what types of conversations do you have in preparation? Like, all that type of stuff, I'm assuming, is what they're wanting to know more of.
Yeah, so I mean, the brief for this project was like super laid back and simple. They really were tied to like a specific sort of color scheme and brand already. So they already had their logo in place, and let me zoom in here. It was AccessGrid. This was like the logo they had. They were tied to this like brand color as well. So my job then was just to like start building out that brand color. And this is like this is it in here again. Super simple. I didn't want to think too hard and long about that. They really were really tied to like a really simple color scheme. They didn't want anything too crazy, like too many colors. They wanted really simple, like white backgrounds where possible. So yeah, I mean, I think like when I'm setting up, when a project is like that, it probably makes it a bit easier for me. If I obviously, I tend to give like feedback and suggestions and ideas based on if a color doesn't quite work, or I'll maybe suggest a different color scheme, or if they tend to lean into like an idea that already exists, but I always try and differentiate it somehow, and try and like make it so that it's not just like something else. So I think that's what's like important if you get like a client coming to you and saying like, I like this color scheme and I like this website. Can you make it like this? I think it's up to the designer then to really try and push that boundary and say, right, okay, like let's take the parts that we like about this, and obviously, you can be inspired by that, but then just try and elevate it further that hopefully fits that specific brand or company that you're working for. So to give you an example of that, let me I'll kind of give some context. So this is like how I typically set up my Figma file. I usually work in this like linear sort of like artboard, like pretty messy way of working, but like it's just how my mind works, where this was literally the first thing like I put in the page, and it was just based on the initial conversations I had with the client. Again, you'll notice there's just no real structure. There's no real sort of like, there's just random like company logos here. This overhangs here. Like the idea for this component is, you'll see further down the line, it's like a sort of kind of multi-select, or not multi-select, it's like a drop down, and then you go from like the home page into that specific customer page. So again, I would just duplicate the artboards. Yeah, so you'll see from this artboard here, I've just literally drew like a few rectangles, and then it starts to come together here. Not something that we ended up doing. Then it's just literally, different layouts. Again, it looks so like when I just review that, when I'm reviewing this here, I'm like, it's just in my mind, I just think, right, I want to try this thing, but I want to try this thing until like something hits, right? So like, again, this is starting to kind of come together. This was like an idea, you'll start kind of getting the gist of like how this thing actually is going to work. So just, again, this is just like me at the moment, nothing's set in stone. There's like few different things happening, like we got quite lucky early on where the client actually liked like the floating nav element here, compared to like, just something more static like this, where, the nav is on the left and the buttons are on the right.
At this point, has the client shared with you like some designs that they like, styles, websites?
Yeah.
Like,
so
for inspiration?
Yeah. So like this was like some of the things that I put together. So I kind of like, just going for this super simple, like, web, like just grabbing like different feature sections. This was like a website they liked, and you can see how like I've avoided like the sort of like bold, kind of heavy, like, I don't know, like super bold text. Like, I mean, it's fine, but like, I don't know, I just feel as if it could be done a little bit more tasteful. Like even just like the kind of bold like announcement banner, like obviously it works there, and we didn't end up going for this. We went for something a lot more subtle. So as we get closer to this, again, me just trying like random stuff. I think I was playing around with like Unicorn Studio for this.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, again, so this is where it starts like kind of coming together. We drew this like sort of like pattern here that we kind of incorporate here. Then this starts coming together with like the company logos. But yeah, a lot of the inspiration, a lot of the stuff that I do beforehand is like jumping into like Cosmos and like Pinterest and like Landbook and Site Inspire and what's another one, like Saspo, I think is another one, where I'm just like literally just browsing those websites and just like I'm just like looking for inspiration. And I think like one key thing for this, like you'll probably think this is like just a lot of work, which it isn't, but a kind of key thing for this initial homepage was they really wanted to just like throw the user right into like what customers they should be like attracting. So these pages go directly to a thing called like the customer specific page, where like it's different for each one of these things here. So like it's not like something that I wanted to like overlay design. I think this is actually, I think I ended up messing about with this in Unicorn Studio again. Like, is this going to work? Oh, there we go. So it's like just doing like random stuff like this. So yeah, just literally just throwing like a bunch of ideas at the wall. Then it starts to like kind of start formalizing. So like I've started working on like things like the drop downs and all the illustrations and stuff like that. Just literally again, just this page is I always just designate like one single page to like explorations, and then I can just say everything that exists in here is just purely for my own sort of like visual timeline of like, right, okay, like I designed something back here that I really liked, so I'm going to try and incorporate like this idea with, you know, like try and add like a glow into it or something, you know what I mean? Like it's just like a sort of visual way for me to like kind of keep track of like what I'm working on. So this was like sort of video exploration. So for this, we had like we have like a you know, your typical like watch this video or whatever, like a kind of, I don't know what you call it, like just an introduction. So like, again, another simple idea was just to incorporate it into like the text. Then we kind of opted for like this button, but then we felt it was too close to the little eyebrow kind of announcement banner. So we ended up landing on like this idea where if there is an announcement banner, we'll keep it like this, and then we'll just incorporate like the watch video into the actual paragraph text. But whenever there isn't an announcement banner, we just remove it, and then we just bring like the button in, so that that's the button that's getting called out, rather than like having two of like a similar design, you know, like one there and like one there.
Yeah. Did you iterate on these with the client, or did you just like put together many different ideas on how, like for the video, and for instance?
Yeah, exactly. So like they just wanted like a bunch of different like explorations. So, you know, like something that could sit, I tried this option where it could just sit in autoplay. I kind of like that idea, but yeah, it was just something that the client didn't really like. They wanted something a little bit more subtle. Again, this was this idea where it's just baked into the actual paragraph text. Then it's like, you know, as a standalone button, and then obviously just a different style for that. And that was just that's just like pretty much the sort of way I go about it for each page. So again, this is like a different page now, customer specific page. And this one, obviously, this is one I've been working on for a few weeks now. And just like, you know, if I scroll through these kind of quickly, you'll see like they're just the general kind of idea. So like there's a lot of stuff happening down here that I'm not showing. So this stuff, like, you know, it's just based on like all the sort of different features that each customer specific page has, you know, and then I'm just mapping out like, you know, where an illustration might go. Again, just like super random, like trying different fonts. You'll see like, you know, this is like the diatype font that I'm using here, but we switched to Inter for like paragraph text. So you'll see here, just trying things like the borders, like rather than just like having it all boxed in, like how will it look if having like a mixture of like dashed lines and like harder like borders here. Again, just trying, you know, a bunch of different layouts. Nothing's really like set in stone. It's almost just like taking different paint brushes and just like throwing them at a different canvas each time, you know, like that's how like my mind kind of works. And if I just kind of like, you know, slowly kind of move through, you'll see like, you know, it's kind of starting to come together a bit. So I ended up landing on this like pattern idea, which I really like, because it's kind of based on like the logo. And I think that's like always something that I'm really trying to do, is trying to like bring in certain visual elements, you know, that are part of like the logo mark or the brand, and how can you do that in a way that kind of bleeds through the rest of like the visual design, and use them as like sort of visual kind of motifs that you can use across the site, rather than it just being like the homepage or whatever. So you'll notice like once I show you some other pages, like this is like a sort of pattern that I came across, or sorry, designed, that we use quite a lot. So, you know, we're going to actually animate this so that these kind of like, you know, just come in and then like they start like forming the actual parts of the shape of the brand, just as a nice visual element that can
Brand
be
reinforcement.
Exactly. So
and then cohesion across, you know, pages and products
yeah,
and things like that too.
yeah, exactly. So like this was like these are all a bunch of like really early explorations for this page. If I scroll down here, you'll see like how it's kind of looking at the moment. So not much has changed, just a lot more kind of like sort of padding, and sort of spacing and layout ideas that have kind of like came together. So, you know, we kind of boxed in these sort of illustrations, so they were kind of like, they kind of formed like solid kind of squares here, and then again, just like boxing in some of these extra features here, so it kind of feels like they're all part of the same thing. So these are like 4 main features they want to highlight on the hardware manufacturer's page.
Mhm.
And then, these are just like extra features that they want to highlight, in a much more subtle way, rather than having like kind of more interesting sort of designed illustrations. And then, like, again, incorporating the sort of grid patterns, and I've did this thing where it's a different color when it's on the blue background, and then having that kind of subtle light gray. Quite happy with how that turned out. Still working on the footer, but yeah. So again, this is how I like to work. These are all the different illustrations for each individual customer specific page. So this will be like the hardware manufacturer. So all this stuff lives in here, and then I think there's only 2 illustrations for each other page. So you've got facility manager, you've got integrator, you've got multifamily real estate, and then you've got hotel operator. So still working on a bunch of those. This is just like a bunch of ideas and exploration for like this sort of kind of key card design that I was doing. Just like playing around. This is like the most fun stuff for me. Like whenever you get to like just design random like branding and fake companies, and it's just like so much fun. So literally,
How early are you showing the progress on that to the client so that you're not going too far into a direction that they might not like?
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I always encourage like my clients to like kind of look at the Figma file like early and daily, just so that if they spot anything that I'm not quite doing. So like this was just didn't quite say like key card, so that kind of early got scrapped. And then he wanted like, we designed this one initially, but this kind of almost looked like a family home or whatever. But these are like they're almost hard. It's not like their demographic, it's like more like sort of like hotel buildings, or like large kind of multi-family buildings. So that's why we ended up going for something like this. Started with this idea, but just didn't quite like how the lines and the shapes on this looked. So I tried to make it like the top end of like a building, just like peeking up from the bottom, which I thought was quite cool. And then we landed on these sort of designs. But yeah, like, I think I knew I kind of wanted to go for like the sort of the sort of kind of line treatment here for the illustration. I was, rather than like something that was more realistic, like an image of a building or something like that,
Yeah, it's cool. For iconography, are you drawing icons for each of your clients, or are you just leveraging one of your existing icon kits or somebody else's?
Yeah, I'm always drawing like everything. Everything's like all hand done in Figma. So like even
That's cool.
these, like like all this stuff is all custom. So yeah, it's like that. Honestly, like that's the most fun part for me. Like I just like love designing this stuff, and if I can make it unique, I know it takes like a little bit extra time, but I just feel like it almost, like you said, it kind of reinforces the brand, and I don't know, it just makes me feel good.
Yeah, definitely.
you know,
I think the consideration with like icons and custom icons is that if you don't have somebody, that's like an investment that you make in the brand, that if you don't have somebody on
yep,
staff that can do that, you're always going to need to have
of
either
course.
your original designer on tap to create new icons as needed, or
Hmm.
find somebody who can create consistent icons to that style,
Yeah. Hmm. Yep. No, I agree, 100%. I think like, and of course, like I'll suggest like an icon set, and I think they actually use Iconic already, like my
Oh, okay.
icon
Yeah.
set. So they're quite happy with those icons. But yeah, these, like, we don't have a filled set on Iconic, so I'll probably suggest something else for these. But um, yeah, I always kind of try and do that anyway, and try and like reinforce that if they need icons, like go with this specific set because it kind of feels similar or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think that's like, you can kind of see, if I zoom out, you can see that's how I treat every page. Like all these labels here are each page that I'm working on, and then it's a case of like literally like I don't know why can I do it that way? I think it's maybe just like from back in the day, like Sketch and Photoshop, where you just, well, Sketch maybe, I think I just always like duplicated the artboard just if I wanted to try something else, and it could just be something so simple, like even here, for example, like it's the layout for this. Like the only difference in this artboard and this artboard is like the layout for this, and I just like, I don't know, it's just ingrained in my mind to like duplicate it and just like try it. Like no matter how small the idea is, there's probably like a more efficient way of doing that, but I just like do it that way.
I would never want to use like versions and things like that because
it just gets lost.
Like right
exactly.
Here.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
how do you label or tag or surface the current version of something for someone to review? I think that's something that, like, you and I work very similarly. You get into our Figma files that we've worked on together, and it's just like from the top left to the bottom right, and just tons of frames.
Yeah, so I'll always say,
operating too, but now transitioning onto a larger team on many different time zones and working. Like, I need to be able to signal that when somebody comes in here, like, this is the current version that I'm working on, or this is the current favorite type stuff, rather than just like commenting on things that aren't necessary to comment on.
Yeah, I would love like a feature in Figma that you could just like right click this and just like it puts like a star, or like it puts like a label or something, like just so that
maybe you can just hit T and type current.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's just something like more noticeable than just like the label on the artboard, But I agree. I think like it's I always try and communicate that this is like the latest artboard, and and like obviously once like like a lot of this stuff's done, so you'll see like I've marked like certain artboards like ready for dev, just so that Alex, who's working on this, knows that this is ready, this page is ready, and what's not ready, just so it keeps him informed and kind of gives him an idea. So that's definitely could be a better way of like showing like what the latest artboard is, but yeah, I've not quite worked that one out.
You label your frames. You have custom.
Yeah, I've got in the habit of doing that lately, just because like I get like deep into a project and
it's just frame 2,383,000.
Yeah, exactly. I've tried to make like a conscious effort of like trying to do that now, just because like like you said, the frame numbers just get crazy, and then I end up getting lost. And and I've started obviously like just trying to like I said, I've always had like one sort of like main exploration page until it gets like too crazy, and then like I maybe like split it up into separate pages. But I just try and label things now, because it just like, I think like you can just hit command F, and then like if I type like guide, just gives me everything, all the guide pages and stuff. So I try my best to like keep things organized in that sense, even though the entire Figma file probably is like really fucking messy compared to like other people's like really good organization skills. But unfortunately, I'm just not one of those people, so I do my best. I try and do the best I can. But I think that's like part of like, that's maybe a good insight to like my process. I try and keep it as simple as possible. I'm really not like, I've mentioned this before, but I'm just really not like a technical designer in that sense, and like I just try and simplify the whole process. That's why like I break out like these components into like separate pages, just because it's like how my mind works, and it's just like, right, okay, I know that this is for this page, and I suppose this is like a unique sort of example, because like this will be multiple pages, this will be like hotel manager, blah blah blah, whatever. But it just like, rather than keeping all these illustrations on like one single page, which I could probably do and keep things a lot cleaner, it just like helps my mind like quickly just jump into like the illustration that I need. So that's kind of like how my mind works, and it's fun.
There's a question about process from your tweet that asks what tools you use in Figma to speed up your design process. Are there any plugins that you gravitate to?
I
know you mentioned like external tools, like using Unicorn
yeah,
Studio
cause
to
yeah,
kind of prototype things, stuff like that. But is there any
yeah.
specific plugins that you use that?
Is there? I mean, I don't think I've really used any plugins for this project so far. I think like you mentioned that I've been using like Cosmos a lot. Like I use Cosmos for like trying to get inspiration for like these sort of certification. Like I was trying to go for like the old classic like certification, like you would see like with like it would be like a stamp, but then like someone would handwrite in like a square or like a box in here. Like I had like a version of this where it was like that. You'll see like someone's like, so they imagine like the grey lines is all like a stamp, right? But then someone's like actually handwritten. I wish I'd like saved the image. I think I had it somewhere, but so like just things like that, like trying to find like inspiration for like how does that look with, like stamps and stuff like that. It's so good. Like Cosmos is just so good for finding like random inspiration for things like that. So, that's how I came up with like these designs. And I was playing around with, I suppose you could. It's not like a plugin or a tool as such, but the new Figma sort of effects are pretty cool on this. So like you can play around with like the brush strokes. So like adds that, it adds like the like it was typically like previously it was really difficult to do things like that, but now you can just literally add like a dynamic kind of brush stroke to these lines, and it just like makes things like super unique. And you can even do it to the text. I actually don't think I've done it in this. I think I've done it in this one. So like it's not as like accurate, like, so you just there's probably a better way of doing this. I think Tim Van Dam actually shared a Figma file earlier on Twitter. I've still to have a look at it, where he's like shared a community file, I think, showing like how he's adding like these brush strokes and stuff like that to text. So I need to have a look. So I'm probably doing it wrong, but like you can get like really cool like results, like just by like the default brushes and stuff like that, which I think's amazing. And it just adds to like the level of detail, that we're going for. And then I think even on this, like this in SVG, like I was originally using like a handwritten font for this, but like even this has just got like I just add like a texture just so that it doesn't look as like uniform, So yeah, just like small things like that, just to, when you drag something in, when I dragged this in originally, I think it was just all like I didn't have like any of the brush strokes in it. It just looked too perfect, for a stamp. So just adding things like the texture and things like that, just really help evolve it, and elevate it.
What's Handoff look like for this type of stuff once you get to the end of it? Is it just this file that you give them, or do you give them a new file that just has all the final decisions in there?
So like
clients ask for the historical context on how you got there, and do you give that to them?
I mean, I obviously keep everything in the Figma file, like this will probably be like the final Figma file that I give them. Obviously within these separate pages, like these are basically the final pages. So this will come with obviously the breakpoints and the how things look on mobile, and like how the menu will look on mobile and things like that. I just haven't got to that stuff yet. But yeah, that'll be, I mean, for in terms of like the illustrations, like we're basically, the way we're doing it is we're launching the sort of kind of static version, and we'll have some animation, but what I'll usually do is like design out all the sort of stages for like how this stuff might animate. I've not got to that part of the project yet, but these will obviously come with like a lot more detail, in the sense that if something comes into this frame, and like if I kind of want to do like a fun thing where like these light up as if they're like being pressed, and then just random stuff like that. So these will come with like a full sort of like storyboard of like how those might look and feel, and then obviously I'll work with Alex, the developer, to kind of flesh those out, just so that he has like a solid idea for like how that thing should work and animate. And yeah, that's typically the kind of process, and obviously I'm trying my hand at like some AI stuff recently, like Unicorn Studio, and just trying to get like a better idea and sense for like some animation stuff to help, Alex out in that sense, just like to try and get the idea out my head and kind of give him a sense for how it might look and feel. So yeah, that's kind of like what I'm doing. I really want to try and get better like the animation stuff and the prototyping stuff in Figma, but it's an absolute headache, man. My brain just can't figure it out.
So Alex is a partner of yours, and you work with him obviously because of his quality of like building this stuff is very good. What about when you're working with teams who are going to implement it themselves? Are you a part of like the QA process during that, or is it usually a handoff and then you just kind of have to hope that it ends up being as good as you want it to be?
No, I definitely I'll need to be a part of that. Like I need to be part of like like the sort of kind of timings and the easings of like certain animations. Like I just like to be in the nitty gritty details, and if that's like contributing after I've done like my part where I've like designed it, I really want to contribute to the actual animation aspect of it, even though I'm not writing any of the code or like figuring that stuff out. But I really I try and get hands on with that stuff and try and make sure that I'm a part of like making sure, like I said, some of the timing and stuff like that's like spot on. But I'm quite lucky in the sense that I've worked with Alex and multiple projects now, and obviously worked with Brad, and those guys have just seemed to have like a really good design sense where they understand how something should kind of ease in or ease out, or how something should move across the page. And I just feel like if you once you work with developers like that, like it's so hard not to work with a developer like that, So yeah, I don't know. I think that's like a key thing for me now is like working with really good developers, because like you can only get so far with like the static design work. The developers, the developer's a guy who, or girl, is the person who brings it to life, and it's super important.
Oh my gosh, I mean, that's kind of how we started working together, was designing and then building stuff with you, and kind of recognizing our quality and how we align on like making sure that it does feel as good as it does.
Exactly.
It's probably a good time to be able to start talking about like at Shopify. That's a big like priority of mine, is to bring on some folks to enforce that quality of implementation. And so we're starting those processes right now. So if folks are interested in being a part of that and think that they can operate at that level of expectation for implementations as design engineers or UI engineers, I'm really excited to start collecting some folks to be a part of this initial team to enforce and drive the next wave and the next generation of Shopify's interface quality inside of their admin and dashboard interfaces initially, but then spreading that excellence and that expectation further into the org. There are areas that have a lot of opportunity inside of Shopify as far as implementation, and I'm really excited to influence that, because obviously it's something I care a lot about. But there's also areas of Shopify that are already like really beautiful to be able to continue to influence and such. So yeah, folks are, I know we'll probably primarily prioritize like America's based time zone hires initially, but if there are folks that are interested in that, I think that they can operate at that level of expectation that I would have, then please reach out, DM me, and let me know, because I'm really excited to assemble this group and show the impact of what it can do on the output of a product. Like it, we talk a lot about, you show these Figma files and they're wonderful and they're beautiful, but like their users will never see those. So it's all about the implementation, like that development partner that designers have to bring their ideas to life in a production environment. I mean, it's one thing to vibe code something, but to put together like a really good, robust implementation of an
Yeah.
animation, of a flow, of a static UI in general. Like there's so much more to good front end than beautiful animations and good easy
Exactly.
things like that. There's semantics around it and the performance, and there's considerations to make there. Like, for instance, something that immediately came to my head when you were going through that, you mentioned using a serif font for the headlines and then a serif font for, switching to Enter for the paragraphs. There's not a ton of difference between those font families. So it's like a consideration that a UI engineer would suggest, or a design engineer suggest, of like, hey, this, we want to do this, but there is like an implication there with package size and loading fonts, and maybe there's 2 different CDNs that they're being loaded from. So that if you load one font that is nearly the same as the other one, that there is like a performance consideration there. So it's just like that type of stuff, that there's another perspective. And another thing that I see that's now mitigated mostly is like you're using corner smoothing on some of the front end containers, and that up until recently wasn't in like a GA shipped browser for web, but recently Chrome added the corner shape super ellipse property to be able to do that stuff, but it's not available in Firefox or Safari yet. I'm not sure about Edge. I doubt it, but so it's like things like that, those considerations that designers design for the ideal outcome, but then need that technical partner to bring it to life and also justify certain decisions made, or influence adjustments to the design based on the technologies that we're working with, not out of a conversation of being lazy, but actually out of being extremely informed and knowing like what's possible and setting expectations to the designers and the stakeholders that this is still going to look incredible, but there's certain things in here that we can't do yet, or it can be like this in one browser but can't be like this in another browser. How do we want to handle that? What trade-off do we want to make there? Because you can certainly do squircles and rounded corners in those other browsers, but it's going to require clip masks and SVGs instead of just native browser rendering techniques. So so this started because I told you I was going to hire these folks, but so I'm excited to bring more of those folks into Shopify and put this design engineering team together to influence that, because these types of things matter. Having those engineering partners that you're talking about and that we're talking about to bring the quality of the designs to life is absolutely a critical part of the process.
Definitely,
to enforcing and maintaining that bar of quality that folks like yourself can operate at, and then want to are motivated to keep going. I've had far too many conversations with designers who are not pushing themselves, even at Shopify, that don't feel like they're pushing themselves because the implementation isn't. They know that it's not going to be as good, and that has to stop. Like it's just not an acceptable operating way of operating, and we can expect excellence, and it's a lot of fun, obviously, to build these types of designs that you're showing and have that be the end result. I'm really excited about that, but I hope that this continues to go well for you. It's looking great, and are you near the end of the process, or
we're almost there. We've only got like a few pages left. I think like the deadline is, well, I mean, we're going to hopefully try and get it wrapped up before like Christmas and stuff. But the deadline's at the end of the month. So going to be wrapping it up like in the next few weeks. But it's been a like super fun project. I've worked with Austin before, and like, we built out a kind of similar sized website at his previous company. And I honestly, like, I love working on projects like this where I have a lot of like creative autonomy and a lot of like reign to work through all the different constraints and what have you of like the actual product, but building out the brand and the visuals and how all that comes together. It's like my favorite projects to work on. So and honestly, like, just designing this stuff is just like makes me so happy. Like, just like getting to like really just spend time in Figma and like come up with like really kind of unique and just really fun illustration stuff. Like it's my favorite thing to do. So it's been good fun so far.
I don't have anything else today. I think we could probably wrap up there, but yeah, it's great catching up. And I know we had to skip a week there. I think maybe even I need to start being more flexible on where I record at, because I see some of my friends record their podcasts in like their hotel room because they're so committed to sticking on the cadence. And it's just like, feels weird to record from a laptop camera and such, and instead of having maybe I need to be more flexible on that. But now we're back at it, back around and back at it.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's been a fun episode. I think this is the first one where I think people will just have to like watch it. I mean, you'll probably be able to watch it and compared to like just listening to it. So I'm excited to see what people think. Obviously, it's always quite daunting sharing your Figma files. People just like rip them to shreds, but fuck it, who cares?
All right, buddy. Have a good rest of the week. I'll catch you next time.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
Right,
see ya.